Hey, what's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson, and I'm doing a prediction show on Ivan Calderon and Rodel Mayol. Obviously, unfortunately, Calderon has had some headbutt issues. Not, him headbutting. Both of them headbutted each other in this fight, but in his last fight, man, I don't even know when it was. I think it was last. I don't even remember when it was, but he had that huge cut that looks like the Texas Longhorn symbol on his forehead. And on the undercard of Joshua Clottey and Cotto, he fought Mayol. And, it was a pretty good fight. You got to think, well, basically, just so you know, I didn't watch the live feed. I watched the fight on a playback on the internet or on YouTube. But the thing was, it was a really bad feed. So it was one of those where it'd be like real slow and then normal speed, then real slow. So sometimes when it's like that, half the fight you don't know what's landing really good. But I will say this about Rodel Mayol. Now when I say Jose Castillo, when I say Castillo in the Floyd fight, I'm trying to use an example. I don't think Mayol is as good as Castillo. But when you're fighting a slick boxer like Calderon and Mayweather are, basically, Mayol used a similar style. He had his hands up, and that's not necessarily a similar style, but he was close, but not necessarily in punching range. But sometimes when people stand there and are close fighters, and then they'll just brawl and just stand right there. Well, Mayol was close to him, like Castillo was to Floyd, but he didn't necessarily just go at him the whole time and throw a bunch of punches and try to pressure him. He's got pretty good hand speed. Like I said, he moved a little bit out of the way from some punches. He definitely would come in and throw a 1-2 and a 1-2 and throw some combinations. Not that they all landed or, Actually, it was kind of a somewhat boring fight. Calderon and Mayol never really got too many good, clean shots in. Just a couple from each. In each round, really. It was a pretty slow fight. The cut happened, I believe, in the 5th round. The doctor looked at it twice in the 5th round, then they stopped it a little later. And Calderon was coming off some rust because he hasn't fought in quite a while. So that could be some of it, the timing shots. And you did see, actually, once the cuts happened, it was, how boring it was actually kind of a rough fight. And Calderon was kind of getting rough, too. So they both were kind of mixing it up a little bit, kind of tying each other up and throwing each other around a little bit. And Calderon kind of threw Mayol down. And so it was interesting that way. But once the cuts happened, then the fight actually started sparking up more. But as far as the rematch goes, like I said, you could tell Calderon was slowly but surely starting to time him a little bit as Mayol came in. So I'm going to go. Like I said, I think this is going to be a good fight, and obviously it's going the distance, but I'm going to go in the rematch. I'm going to go Calderon, but I think the first 4 or 5 rounds are going to be kind of the same, because like I said, Mayol has a good style for him because he's there, but he's not necessarily there to be hit, but he's not freaking out, so Calderon loves the counter and kind of one-shot move. Once in a while, he'll 1-2 you, but he keeps moving. And he was circling Mayol, but Mayol circled right with him. And not necessarily cut off because he didn't put him, he didn't cut off the ring, but he kept circling with him. And so it wasn't like Calderon was on his bike the whole time, and the guy was just rushing in on him. And sometimes you don't necessarily want to do that because, especially if you come just throwing too many punches, because then he can stick and move. So I thought Mayol had a pretty good strategy. And I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to be a great fight to watch. It can't be any worse, right? So I think it'll be Ivan Calderon in this rematch by a decision, but a good fight. Anyway, this has been the Rope-A-Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. Peace.